Hey folks, Jordan Chariton here with Jordan Chariton, Monday, March 26th, about 5:45 East Coast time. Hope you're doing well. I will wait 1 second for the YouTube to join us. YouTube always takes a minute or two. A lot of stuff going on in the news. Obviously, a lot of salacious stuff going on in the news that I'm not that interested in covering. I'm out on the Stormy Daniels nonsense. I did not watch the full Stormy Daniels interview, but needless to say, I think there's more important things to discuss. And let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can see me. Let me know if I am eye level with you. Got a few comments that they felt I was not eye level. So tried to lift the computer for you. It was a busy weekend, a lot of news to discuss, but there's something going on that I think is super important that's not getting coverage. As you know, I have tried my best to cover the Dakota Access Pipeline, obviously while I was there many times in North Dakota, but also after. There is legal matters that have been going on, cases that the Standing Rock Sioux tribe have filed against Dakota Access Pipeline, its parent company, Energy Transfer Partners, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers. Those cases have been going on almost 2 years now. There's also a case that I did a report on, I believe last week, on a indigenous woman, Vanessa Dundone, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. She was an indigenous woman that on November 20th, 2016, a tear gas canister was fired at her face, point blank range, and she lost eyesight in the left eye. She has now sued Morton County Sheriff Kyle Kirchmeyer, and she, along with other plaintiffs, have sued. So there are things going on related to the Standing Rock, the No DAPL movement, lawsuits, legal matters that don't get any media coverage. So I hope to bring that to you. Share this video. Let's get this out there. So you're aware, I actually released today Chapter 6 of my book, Corporate Con Job. My book, Corporate Con Job, is all about the campaign, as well as the stories that I covered other than the campaign. And I try to give you a very raw, behind-the-scenes look at how the corporate media is essentially a part of the oligarchy that is destroying the middle class, destroying our environment, and basically continuing to allow a completely rigged America that funnels money to the top and leaves the rest of us essentially to attack each other for the crumbs. So that book now, Chapter 6, is out. If you're not aware, I have a Patreon for the book. Patreon subscribers get chapters 1 through 5 are already out for Patreon subscribers, and Chapter 6 just went up today. I will put the link in the chat right here if you want to download it. It is aptly called, hold on 1 second, it is called Calm Before the Standing Rock Storm. Calm Before the Standing Rock Storm. It is all about, I did 2 chapters on Standing Rock. This first chapter, which is Chapter 6, is all about some of the more beautiful moments that you don't know about that happened at Standing Rock. You know, a lot of the focus on Standing Rock was the horrific police brutality and the awful scenes of, awful freezing water cannons and grenades shot at water protectors and tear gas and the brutality. That I will be reporting on in Chapter 7, which is not out yet. But I wanted to do the first chapter on Standing Rock on some of the more beautiful, special moments that I experienced at Standing Rock. I was there 7 times, and the experiences I had there, along with thousands of people that went, were really life-changing, very eye-opening for me. So I really wanted to share a lot of the behind-the-scenes moments that were raw and emotional and beautiful, and really have that lead the way. Instead of leading with all the horrific brutality that I will get into in the next chapter. So my business partner, Jen, who is the leader and the in charge of our chat here, she just posted the link. So if you want to read Chapter 6, it's patreon.com/Jordan Chariton. That's patreon.com Jordan Sheridan. And let me know what you think. I put it all on the table in chapter 6. I put it all out there. It's probably the most personal I've gotten in all 5 chapters. And yeah, this book, the Patreon for this book, the money that you are funding me is actually going to go towards my new media company. The new media company that my business partner and I are launching, hopefully late spring, early summer. We have the business plan out to several people, and our book Patreon and my separate reporting Patreon, all of those funds that you've been contributing are going to be going to get us back in the field and for me to hire other reporters with me. So definitely go check it out. I'll remind you throughout this report, Chapter 6 is out. Chapter 6 is out. Calm Before the Standing Rock Storm. You can get it at patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan. And yeah, it's locked if you're not a paid Patreon. So you have to be a subscriber to get the chapter. You could subscribe as low as $1. You could subscribe as low as $3, I believe. There's different reward levels for patrons. And if you're subscribed, even at the lowest level, you'll have access to Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, and now Chapter 6. I also have bonus chapters on my arrest in St. Louis, as well as some of the more grisly things that the Hillary Clinton campaign did. So go become a subscriber to the book now. Your support is going to get me back in the field, so thank you so much. So wanted to report to you on some troubling things that are going on in the ongoing legal battle between the Standing Rock Sioux tribe versus the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and Energy Transfer Partners, which is the parent company of the Dakota Access Pipeline. Please push the share button. Let's get this out to more people. So basically, let me read you the media article on this, which was absolutely ridiculous. So you know what we're dealing with. Hold on. Here we go. Working my screen share here. All right. So this is ABC News. More time is needed to finish additional court-ordered environmental study of the Dakota Access oil pipeline due to difficulties in getting needed information from American Indian tribes fighting the project in court, according to federal officials. I want to read that to you one more time, because this is what's wrong with our media. This is what's wrong with the corporate media. This is what's wrong with all forms of corporate media, some independent media, and why I try to actually look into things and speak with the side that is usually being lied about, because the corporate media doesn't care whether they're telling you the truth or not. They just care on covering up for the powerful. And that's why your contribution's so important. Again, download Chapter 6, Calm Before the Standing Rock Storm. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan. More time is needed to finish additional court-ordered environmental study of the Dakota Access oil pipeline due to difficulties in getting needed information from American Indian tribes fighting the project in court, according to federal officials. So, as you could see there, they're already framing it. They're already framing it as, well, you know, the Army Corps of Engineers is going to miss its deadline to provide Judge James Boasberg important information on oil spill responses, as well as the tribe's fishing and hunting, how the pipeline is going to affect the tribe's fishing and hunting rights, which is a huge part of the way of life of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. So ABC News here frames it as, oh, well, Standing Rock Sioux tribe, they're not giving us the information we've asked for. So it's, as always, it's the Native Americans' fault. You know, isn't that what this whole country has been based on? We killed them, genocide, then we took their land, and then we blame them after the fact. Only in America. So ABC News just regurgitates what the Army Corps of Engineers says, because after all, the corporate media is a bunch of stenographers, which is really the problem. So I'll read you just a little bit more here so you get a taste before I tell you what is actually the truth. And again, share the video. Let's get it to more people. The delay won't impact the $3.8 billion pipeline, which has been operating since last June, moving North Dakota oil through South Dakota and Iowa to a shipping point in Illinois. But it will delay resolution of a federal lawsuit that has lingered for nearly 2 years. U.S. District Judge James Bosberg last summer ordered the Army Corps of Engineers to further review the pipeline's impact on tribal interests, including how a spill under Lake Oahe Reservoir on the Missouri River in the Dakotas would impact the water supply of the Standing Rock and Cheyenne River Sioux. The Army Corps last October told Busberg it would finish the mandated work by April 2nd, but the agency late last week informed him that won't happen, quote, as a result of difficulties in obtaining requested information from the plaintiff tribes in a timely manner. So, essentially, ABC News, again, just regurgitates whatever the hell the Army Corps tells them. And I'm here to tell you what the Army Corps is telling them ain't true. It is not true. Are you surprised that the federal government is lying about Native American tribes and that ABC News, a corporate media outlet, is just regurgitating that? Please tell me if you're surprised. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up. So, let me then tell you, you also cannot make this part up, which is vile and disgusting. Let me show you what the Energy Transfer Partners has now said about the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. Let me get it up for you here. La-da-dee, la-da-da, what will be, will be. Ugh, so many things up on my screen. There we go. So, this is what the Energy Transfer Partners in a recent court filing has said about the tribe. Claire Booth Luce once famously lamented that no good deed goes unpunished. The United States Army Corps of Engineers surely can relate. Its remand process after this court's June 14th, 2017 opinion and remand order goes far beyond what the law requires. As relevant here, for example, the Army Corps has asked all parties for various categories of information, even though this court's October 11th, 2017 opinion rejecting vacatur plainly states that the remand order does not obligate the Army Corps to gather any additional information before it decides what explanations are needed to comply with that order. Indeed, the court deemed it quite likely that the pre-remand record already has everything the Army Corps needs on 3 discrete remand topics. Plaintiffs, meaning the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, insist, though, on inhabiting an alternate universe. Let me repeat that. Plaintiffs, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, insist, though, on inhabiting an alternate universe. They refuse to accept this court's determination, and they ask the court to turn the Army Corps' above and beyond effort against it. That is, their motions insist that if Army Corps wants to gather more information about tribal uses of hunting and fishing resources, the Army Corps must not only give plaintiffs other additional information, but also initiate formal government-to-government consultation. So I just want you to let that sink in, shall we? Let that sink in for a minute. Plaintiffs insist the Standing Rock Sioux tribe are inhabiting an alternate universe. I mean, you can't make this up. This pipeline company literally dug a pipeline through their land, through their reservation, without consulting them. I have looked into this very much. There was just about zero consultation on Energy Transfer Partners end and the tribe. So they don't consult them. They do a total sham study or measurement. They choose not to look 10 miles. They choose not to put the pipeline 10 miles north of 96% white Bismarck, where they looked at what the effects of putting the pipeline just north of Bismarck. For that, they looked 10 miles upstream. Whereas when deciding to put it right on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, they only looked at what the effects would be for just a half mile from the pipeline. And guess what wasn't included in that half mile that the Energy Transfer Partners measured? The Standing Rock Sioux, which was technically their reservation, was right just like not even a full mile right, right outside of the half-mile radius they used to look. So what you have here, the Energy Transfer Partners, because they care about white people and, middle-class white people in Bismarck, but they don't care about poor Native Americans. Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, one of the poorest areas in the United States of America, they don't give a damn about Native Americans. They don't care about their sovereign rights. They don't care about their sacred artifacts or land. They certainly don't care about their water. So they rammed this pipeline, which has already spilled 5 times that we know of. Rammed the pipeline 5 miles. Rammed the pipeline underneath the Missouri River, the longest river in the United States, through their sacred land, and it's Standing Rock that's occupying an alternate universe. Does anybody have an issue with this? So it's the Native Americans who are fighting for their water, for their sacred land, for their sovereignty, because, by the way, this is their land, not the federal government's land. This is the Standing Rock Sioux's land, as per the 1851 and 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. But, of course, the U.S. government and the courts do not even bother pretending to follow the law and treaty rights. So they just ignore that. Standing Rock Sioux Tribe has mentioned and argued that their treaty rights and the Fort Laramie Treaty has been trampled on. But U.S. judges, they always like to say, well, the treaty rights are a separate issue. We can't focus on the treaty rights. Danny Camp says, corporations are people too. Let's leave the Mitt Romney out of here. I don't need no Mitt Romney in my chat. And let's press the share button. I'm aware there's another show on, but I don't care. I go live when I can. And I was very busy today monitoring. Busy monitoring developments in the Flint water crisis this morning. So that's why I'm going live a little bit later. Actually, I was monitoring the Flint water crisis. There was a preliminary hearings in one of the people's cases. So I was monitoring that all day. And yes, I believe I just did get to 8,000 subscribers. So bravo. Thank you guys for getting me there. Please share this channel. You got to tweet it. You got to Facebook it. You got to put it out in smoke signals. Get it out to the masses because, frankly, YouTube isn't getting it out to the masses. The subscriber growth here has certainly slowed down, and there's been some fishy stuff, but that's for another story. So, and if you're coming to this late, Chapter 6 of my book on Standing Rock out today. I just released it today. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan. Jen will put it again in the chat. So you have Dakota Access Pipeline, parent company Energy Transfer Partners, who is the parent company for the Rover Pipeline, which has spilled over 20 times before even being operational in Ohio. Parent company of the Trans-Pecos Pipeline down in Texas, that is literally was built going underneath the United States and the Rio Grande into Mexico, and they didn't even disclose that till 4 months into construction, is the parent company of the Bayou Bridge Pipeline in Louisiana, which temporarily the permits were stopped, which was a victory. So what you have here, they're saying, ABC News just regurgitated it. Army Corps says, tribe's not giving us the information we need. Energy Transfer Partners attacking the tribe, saying they're living in an alternate universe, which is disgusting, considering what Energy Transfer Partners has done to these Native Americans and the threat Energy Transfer Partners has put on their water and their land and their way of life. Before I get into more information, I want to give you a quote from, his name's David Kane. 1 second. Yeah. So ignore the left side of the screen, the right side of the screen. It is precisely that kind of language and attitude that Energy Transfer Partner has used to try to discredit the tribe, which was why the tribe passed the resolution it did. That is David Kane. He is a technical advisor to the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and co-author of the tribe's 300-page report sent to the Army Corps. That's a quote that he told me. David and I have been talking back and forth via email. He is one of the technical advisors for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. I have an open invitation out to him to join me for an interview because he could definitely shed a lot of really helpful information and light on what's going on in terms of DAPL's straight up lies, which is what I see. They are lying to the Army Corps, they are lying to the courts, and they are certainly lying to you, the people. So David Kane, again, in response to the tribe being labeled as occupying an alternate universe, quote, "It is precisely that kind of language and attitude that ETP, Energy Transfer Partners, has used to try to discredit the tribe, which was why the tribe passed the resolution it did." That's David Kane, technical advisor for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. So what you have here, let me explain to you the real reality, not the alternate reality that Energy Transfer Partners is depicting. Because what they're saying is straight up nonsense. Straight up nonsense. So essentially, it's not the Standing Rock Sioux tribe who has not provided the Army Corps of Engineers the information the Army Corps needs to meet the April 2nd deadline that Judge James Bosberg issued last year. That deadline, Army Corps is supposed to provide information on their oil spill model. What is their model if there is an oil spill? What is their plan? Also, the impact of Standing Rock, an oil spill on the tribe's hunting and fishing rights. What is the effects to their environment, to the fish, to their ability to hunt? Tawandra Hugh asked me, what was the date on that report from Energy Transfer Partners, please? Let me get that for you. What will be. Oh, I have so many documents up. Hold on, sorry. That is from March 16th, 2018. March 16th, 2018. So semi-recently, that's from DAPL. So I want to give you the Standing Rock Sioux tribe's side of the story, which in conversations I've had with them is the actual truth of what's going on. So this is from Standing Rock Sioux tribe. This is, was filed on March 6th, 2018, and it is a resolution from the Standing Rock Sioux tribe directly to Energy Transfer Partners. The subject line was proposed meeting on emergency planning and response to the Dakota Access Pipeline. Dear Energy Transfer Partners, attached to Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Council Resolution number 080-18, Energy Transfer Partners should work cooperatively with our tribes on meeting arrangements and the disclosure of important information relating to emergency management. Energy Transfer Partners should exhibit a good faith, good luck, and meet with our representatives in our tribal chambers as is customary, rather than obfuscate and avoid addressing our concerns. So this is a bit of a long resolution. I want to get to the part that I think is very important. Here we go. And, if you have questions, feel free to ask me in the chat here. Whereas on June 14th, 2017, Judge James Bosberg granted partial summary judgment to the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, ruling that the final environmental impact statement violated the National Environmental Policy Act, which is NEPA, short for National Environment Policy Act, by failing to properly evaluate three things. Number one, the potential impacts of an oil spill on the hunting and fishing rights guaranteed to the tribe in the Fort Laramie Treaties of 1868 and 1851. I had mentioned that earlier. Number two, Dakota Access Pipeline's disproportionate impacts on the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. Number three, resolve the controversy among expert opinions on the impacts of an oil spill, and remanded to the Army Corps of Engineers to prepare additional analysis of these issues. So basically, before I go on, I want to make sure you understand. Basically, this judge said that there were violations by Energy Transfer Partners and the Army Corps of U.S. on the grounds of environmental justice, As you see, number 2 there, DAPL's disproportionate impacts on the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. And the judge demanded a more thorough oil model spill, as well as for Energy Transfer Partners and the Army Corps to provide what the environmental impacts and what the impacts would be on the tribe's hunting and fishing rights. So if there's an oil spill in the Missouri River, again, the longest river in the United States, let's not forget that, folks, wasn't really reported that way. The rare reporting that the corporate media decided to do on this. And let me move my computer forward just slightly so I could charge it. We're operating here a little raw, so excuse me. And I'll move back here. What's happening is basically there's this back and forth, but the judge, in a favorable ruling to the Standing Rock Sioux tribe last June, said you need to actually provide a firm oil spill response, because when the pipeline spills, not if, and again, already spilled 5 times that we know of. We don't know. For all we know, it has spilled already under the Missouri River, but North Dakota, like Texas, not so tight on the actual regulation, and oil companies don't really have to provide much by way of reporting oil spills. The actual level of spill that needs to be met before it needs to be reported is very, very high. And even when there is high levels of hundreds of thousands of gallons reported, sometimes these oil companies forget to report it. And as a reminder, because you don't hear this, this is their land. This is the Standing Rock Sioux tribe's land. The 1851 and 1868 Fort Laramie treaties guaranteed this land to them. So why is this important almost 2 years after the actual no DAPL demonstrations? Because, we have a president. We are a law and order administration. Well, this pipeline company, which just insulted the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, if you came to this late, the pipeline company in their most latest court filings accused the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, who are just fighting for their water, just fighting for their sacred land, just fighting for the gravestones where their ancestors are buried, where their hunting and fishing is a huge way of life for them and it's part of their culture. They're just fighting for their lives because water is life. Energy Transfer Partners says they're living in an alternative universe. But, and the tribe is not providing the necessary information. Let that sink in. And again, Jen's putting in the chat room, it's like I'm 1996 in an AOL chat. Jen's putting in the chat the link if you want to read my new chapter on Standing Rock. I just published it today. You could go to that link. You could subscribe as low as $1, $3, $5, whatever you can do. I think you'll really, really like it. It's very raw, and it's actually more about the beautiful moments at Standing Rock, less so about the awful, grisly scenes we know happened there with freezing water and grenades and tear gas and essentially fascism in America, which I do get into in Chapter 7. So let me read you the reality, because the tribe, it's not the tribe not providing the information to the Army Corps or Energy Transfer Partner. It's the other way around. So let me read you part of their resolution so you're actually getting the facts. Unlike ABC, who just regurgitated what the federal government told them, because after all, we're corporate media. We're not out there for the truth. We're out there to just keep the money flowing, baby. Because really, what is ABCnews.com about? What is ABC TV about? What is CNN about? What is MSNBC? What is New York Times about? Is it about truth, or is it about getting clicks? Is it about truth, or is it about bridging from point A to point B? Meaning, let's fill the digital pages, let's fill the airwaves, only to get to the next Viagra commercial, the next Boeing commercial, the next Raytheon commercial, the next oil company, the next Bank of America commercial. That's what our corporate media is, folks. And that's why I'm trying to create a media revolution. A media revolution. And that's going to include you. People complain, Jordan, stop pimping your Patreon. Stop plugging yourself. Well, if I'm not going to plug myself, who the hell is? I'm not plugging myself. I'm plugging a company. the money that you are funding to my Patreon, my book Patreon, patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan, and my reporting Patreon, patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports, it's going to launch a media company so that I could get back out there and cover the things being ignored, like the next Standing Rock, like Line 5 in Michigan and surrounding states, like pipelines all over the damn United States, like nuclear waste sites with radioactive material making half of America sick, which I'm working on a story about that in Massachusetts right now. Like black people and brown people getting shot at unprecedented levels. I'm about to do a story after Standing Rock on Stephon Clark, a Sacramento black man killed with no weapon on him senselessly. So let me show you what actually is the truth here, so you know what's going on. So this is from the tribe's resolution. As I showed you the three things that the judge ordered. So, whereas, notwithstanding the violations of law, Judge Bosberg denied the tribe's request to shut down Dakota Access Pipeline pending the remand analysis by the Army Corps, and instead directed Dakota Access Pipeline to collaborate with the Standing Rock Sioux tribe on emergency planning for the Standing Rock Indian Reservation and to conduct an independent third-party review of compliance with the applicable regulations. And whereas the Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Council and the Standing Rock Tribal Emergency Response Commission, TURC, stand prepared to work cooperatively with Energy Transfer Partners and Sunoco, because the pipeline is co-owned by Energy Transfer Partners and Sunoco is a minority partner, in the preparation of realistic and effective facility response and emergency response plans. And whereas, in order to negotiate a collaborative emergency response plan, it shall be necessary for the Tribal Council and the TURC to review, in advance of any meeting or negotiation, and here we go with the meat of this, the most current facility response plan without redactions. The FRP establishes the baseline data underlying for all emergency response activities. Emergency response meaning an oil spill. It is not possible to engage in oil spill response planning without the baseline information required in the FRP. For example, contingencies involving inclement weather should be fully identified, but there is no evidence of this. In any event, Energy Transfer Partner has refused to disclose this information. So, why this is important? You have Energy Transfer Partners and the federal government. Energy Transfer Partners basically saying Standing Rock Sioux Tribe is living on an alternate universe, which is just astounding. Astounding. But, so, they're attacking the tribe, saying they're living on an alternate universe. Then the Army Corps of Engineers says, oh, Standing Rock Sioux Tribe isn't providing us with the information they need. Namely, they're saying they're not providing the Army Corps with all the information on their fishing and hunting specifics to their tribe. You know, what, I guess, what goes into their fishing and hunting, you know, where they fish and things like that. But the truth is, the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe has asked for specific technical information for months, and Energy Transfer Partners and the Army Corps have not provided it. The information that they did provide was heavily redacted. You know, like those WikiLeaks documents, you get documents, but half of it is blocked out in black. So why is half the information that they provided redacted? Could it be they're hiding something? Let me read you a little more here. Standing Rock Sioux Tribe has asked for the most current facility response plan without redactions, which is what I just told you. Number 2, the most current Lake Oahe spill model, including scenarios analyzed and technical documentation. The Army Corps of Engineers indicated that the permit and easement for Dakota Access Pipeline is contingent upon development of a spill model. However, there is no evidence that a spill model has been developed by Energy Transfer Partners as required by the Army Corps. Number 3, the most current risk analysis specific to the Lake Oahe crossing. The Lake Oahe crossing is that final permit that former President Barack Obama denied, but then Trump reversed it and they got that Lake Oahe permit, which Lake Oahe flows into the Missouri River. Number 4, the worst case discharge. The WCD, worst case discharge estimate, needs to reflect a realistic release time. The leak detection system, LDS, and the SCADA computer monitoring system have not proven to be sufficient to provide actionable alarms in a central control room to promptly and accurately identify a pipeline rupture and initiate shutdown of the pipeline. The release time of 9 minutes estimated by Energy Transfer Partner is wholly unrealistic. A reasonable analysis would incorporate a realistic release time, a more nuanced interpretation of LDS and SCADA performance, and would incorporate issues such as operator confusion time and isolation valve availability numbers. However, ETP has refused to disclose this information. There is no evidence that any of this has been done. I just want to dumb that down for you because some of this is a little complicated even to me. Essentially, Energy Transfer Partners, in all of their documentation, it's roses are red and the most sunny projections one could make. They say, oh, beginning to end, if there's an oil spill, it will be shut down in 9 minutes. But they don't actually provide any of the technical information to support that. What, are we supposed to just trust the oil company because they're known to just be bastions of honesty and progressiveness? Give me a break. And ABC News just regurgitates what the Army Corps, who's lying, and the Army Corps is literally doing the bidding of a private oil company. So when you hear, oh, 9 minutes front to end, and, you know, Kelsey Warren, the Energy Transfer Partners CEO, who went on PBS about a year and a half ago and said, oh, it's in the rare scenario that this leaks, we have a state-of-the-art system and control room and that the valves go off and it shuts down like that. Because I trust Kelsey Warren, the CEO of Energy Transfer Partners, a plutocrat who don't give a damn about Native Americans, doesn't give a damn about your water. He don't give a damn about anyone but himself and his Gilded Age family. And by the way, Warren Buffett is the largest shareholder in the Dakota Access Pipeline. And why is it important to call out Kelsey Warren and the oil companies even 2 years after, even when the oil is flowing? Well, who else is going to call them out? Do you think the corporate media is? Frankly, some of the big independent media outlets, they don't cover this anymore. They cover Trump, 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 Russia, Russia, Russia. Meanwhile, the Army Corps of Engineers, the federal government, working with a private oil company, is stomping on Native Americans, stomping on the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, further than they were already stomped on. I mean, it wasn't enough just to literally ram a pipeline through their reservation, endangering their whole tribe, endangering the water of 20 million people who get water from the Missouri River downstream. That wasn't enough. And thank you to Jen, who's been putting the link. Subscribe. $1 per chapter, $3 per chapter, $5 per chapter. This chapter, chapter 6, I guarantee you don't know any of this stuff that happened at Standing Rock that I report on. And I think it will lift spirits a little bit. I think in these dark days of oligarchy and corruption, sometimes we need a little reminder that there's some beautiful things that go on. Chapter 7 won't be as beautiful. It's going to be pretty damn horrific. But it's going to be the truth, what my experience was there. And thank you. I think we've just crossed 8,000 subscribers, so let's keep going. Charlie LaDuff, I'm reading his book now on Detroit. So essentially what you have here, the tribe has been asking for specific technical information, and Energy Transfer Partners and the Army Corps refuses to provide it. That's the truth. Yet ABC News reports, oh, American Indian tribes not giving the government what they need. And by the way, so on one hand, they won't give them the technical information that was required and asked of. How could you have meetings? How can the Standing Rock Sioux tribe have meetings with Energy Transfer Partner, the oil company, which I'm about to get to in a minute, if they don't have the technical information they need to actually look at and analyze the the oil spill response plan. It's absurd. So let me give you a little bit more information here. The tribe has also asked for location and specifications of the Lake Oahe crossing shut-off valves, elevation of the valves, and the pipeline segment between the shut-off valves, whether they are automatic or manually operated, and calculation of the drainage volume. The valves, actuators, and controls must be carefully designed to meet the remote safety isolation function. The Standing Rock Tribal Council has received no quantitative verification from either Energy Transfer Partners or the Army Corps of Engineers relating to the operation, test results, or efficiency of the shutoff function, prompting legitimate concern that the WCD has been significantly understated. The Missouri River and the Standing Rock Reservation faces far more environmental risk than disclosed by Dakota Access Pipeline or the Army Corps of Engineers. Energy Transfer Partners correspondents indicated that it remains unwilling to provide the requested documentation. Number 6, DAPL Pipeline Safety Management System requirements, framework, and implementation. Number 7, actual response time at other Energy Transfer Partner Sunoco reported pipeline leaks. This is required in the applicable regulations of the Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, which state that, quote, the worst case discharge is the largest volume in barrels of the pipeline's maximum release time in hours. Nevertheless, Energy Transfer Partners disrespected the tribe's reasonable request. Quote, you asked for documentation about other oil spills at other locations. We do not believe that information is necessary or relevant to planning at Lake Oahe. Right. So it's not relevant at all what your response time has been at all your other toxic crude oil or natural gas piles of shit that you're ramming through the entire country and endangering the whole populace. Not important. Not important. How long it took you to stop the oil spill. Not important. It's, Robert Pookie Ray, like your name, Robert, says, DAPL doing classic gaslighting for gas. Oh my God. I'm going to steal that, Robert, so you better patent that. DAPL is gaslighting for gas. That was damn good. Even told that young lady who got grenaded, she had the bombs and blew up herself. WTF. Yeah. And that I'm going to get into chapter 7. Her name is Vanessa Dundun. And no, she didn't have the, oh no, you're talking about Sophia Wolanski, a 21-year-old who nearly had her arm blown off. No, she didn't have a grenade. The people around her didn't have a grenade. It was the sheriffs and the fucking brutalized police. It's terrible. So, and Jen Dyes, happens to be my business partner, says, I said this at the top of the chat, but chapter 6, the one I just published, Calm Before the Standing Rock Storm, is my favorite. Jordan really opens up and you will learn a lot about what was going on and what he was thinking. I don't know, I'm a little biased, but I want to read it. I digress. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan if you'd like to subscribe and read chapter 6. Now, let me tell you a little bit about some of the back and forth that goes into not getting this technical information that has gone on between Energy Transfer Partners and the tribe. So, again, forget the left part. I'm reading to you the right part. So this is from David Kane. He is a technical advisor that I've been speaking to from Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. As part of the judge's remand, that is the June 17th ruling by Judge James Bosberg, who basically said the Army Corps needs to provide, the Army Corps and Energy Transfer Partners needs to provide a legitimate oil spill model, as well as their projections for how a spill would affect the tribe's hunting and fishing. This is from David Kane. As part of the judge's remand, he also ordered ETP to meet with the tribes to discuss emergency response planning and select an auditor, a third-party auditor, to evaluate Energy Transfer Partners' spill response and modeling. ETP scheduled a meeting on February 8th in Bismarck. Let me space this out for you. This after the tribes have made repeated requests via the technical team, of which David is a part, for very specific technical information. That technical information I just read what that technical information they requested was in the tribe's resolution. Not surprisingly, Energy Transfer Partners has refused, and what little info they did give has been heavily redacted. Well, why does a big oil company send information heavily redacted? Could it be they're hiding something? Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. However, through an error of Energy Transfer Partners' part, oh, sorry about that. That is not on the record. My mistake. See, this happens sometimes when you're doing it raw without producers. You can screw up. Not surprisingly, Energy Transfer Partners has refused, and what little info we do have has been heavily, heavily redacted. The Tribal Council, tribal elders, and many Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and Cheyenne River Standing Rock Tribe refused to meet with Energy Transfer Partners on February 8th, and instead sent our technical team and Lakota elders to Bismarck. At that meeting, a Standing Rock Sioux elder delivered a 10-minute lecture to Energy Transfer Partners in Lakota. Doug Crow Ghost, department head of Standing Rock Sioux Tribe Water Resources, Water Resources, read aloud a letter from Chairman Mike Faith, he is the chairman of Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, repeating the tribe's demand for technical information. Hand-delivered the letter, and we walked out of the meeting. Cheyenne River Tribe did the same. So that was on February 8th. The technical team came. Doug Crow Ghost, department head of Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's Water Resources, read aloud a letter from Chairman Faith, repeating the tribe's demand for technical information, hand-delivered the letter, and we walked out of the meeting. Cheyenne River did the same as Standing Rock. Fast forward to March 1st, and ETP, Energy Transfer Partners, demanded the tribes attend a meeting in Bismarck on March 7th, refusing to meet with the tribe on the reservation at Fort Yates as requested and as they said they would. Not unexpectedly, Energy Transfer Partners also refused to provide the technical information and data in advance that was requested in the February 7th letter hand-delivered. Think they are worried about being exposed? It is clear from the February 8th meeting that Energy Transfer Partners wants to just give the tribes a dog and pony show in front of the Army Corps. The tribe feels that Energy Transfer Partners is attempting to trample on their sovereignty. And that is from David Kane. He is a technical advisor to the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. He also co-authored a 300-page report that was recently sent from the tribe to the Army Corps, outlining all the reasons that this pipeline, when it spills, is going to destroy the environment, the reservation's water, animal life, ability to hunt, and essentially its way of life, not to mention the 20 million downstream who will be affected. So essentially, folks, what you have here is the corporate media regurgitating what the Army Corps tells them. The corporate media just regurgitates, oh, well, the Native American tribes aren't giving the federal government what they need to provide the judge. Well, as I just reported, not only has the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe provided information, but they have repeatedly asked for technical information they need. And Energy Transfer Partners, who does not give a damn about the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, has shown them nothing but contempt and disrespect, who, as I reported earlier, literally just came out and insulted the tribe, saying they are, quote, living in an alternate universe. They won't provide the tribe the technical information that they need to actually analyze whether the oil company has a legitimate oil spill model, an oil spill response plan. But it's the tribe, right? It's the tribe living on an alternate universe. Can't make it up. Cannot make it up. Moving the story forward to today, the tribe is meeting with the U.S. Army Corps on the reservation in Fort Yates, which is right next to Cannonball, North Dakota, where the demonstration camp was. That's happening today. I have not spoken to anyone from the tribe or David about what happened at that meeting today, so I will update you as soon as I can. But what's really unsettling here is the continued, I mean, it's just, it really is. I mean, I say it all the time, but the corporate media paints an alternative reality. It's not the Standing Rock Sioux tribe that's living in an alternate universe. It's the corporate media doing the work of their daddies in the federal government and corporate America that's basically regurgitating government spin. So the Army Corps lies and said, well, the tribe hasn't given us the information we need. Meanwhile, the oil company won't provide the tribe with anything, any technical information. The information they do give the tribe is all redacted. Hey, Lee Camp has a popular show called Redacted Tonight. Well, why is the oil company, who we should not be depending on for honesty, redacting technical information? Maybe it's because they haven't done a thorough spill response model. Maybe it's because their numbers are all, rosy flowers and a rosy picture that's not realistic. Exhausted 11 says, hey, Jordan, are you even surprised? No, I'm not surprised, but it's still my job to report it. Nothing, very little surprises me now, especially after the last few months of my life. I digress. So that's what's going on. The Army Corps lying. The oil company, not surprisingly, lying. The Standing Rock Sioux tribe being attacked, being accused of living on an alternate universe. Well, you know what? If a Native American tribe who wants to save its water, save its children, save its elders, save its sacred land, save its burial sites where its ancestors are buried, and save the planet, if that's an alternate universe, where's my ticket? Because I want a ticket to that alternate universe. Because this one, the corrupt oligarchy universe, ain't working for me. Before I move on to the next story, one more reminder. Chapter 6, out today. That's patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan. It's the calm before the Standing Rock storm. I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll download. I hope you'll read it. Let me know what you think. But I will always follow up. I will always give you an update as best as I can on what's going on with these lawsuits, the continued attacks on Native Americans. When I launch my soon-to-be-launched media network, we will cover the environment. We will cover Native American issues. We will cover the things that the corporate media is covering up. And we're going to need your help doing it. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan or Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. Your help, your financial support is going so we could launch this company. I have people in mind to join me, other reporters, but I'm going to need your help to get me there. So, moving on. You haven't seen a lot of coverage of this in the corporate media because they've been a little busy covering a porn star saying she had unprotected sex with the President of the United States. That's pretty damn important. I did not watch the full interview with Stormy Daniels. The parts I did watch, I don't know. I don't have anything to say other than, what can you say? It's embarrassing. 60 Minutes has a porn star on to say she had unprotected sex with the president. And that's all the media is talking about right now. But there was another black man murdered. I mean, what else do you call it? In California, his name was Stephon Clark. There have been protests in Sacramento for this murder. There was protests at a Sacramento Kings game. They're a basketball team in the National Basketball Association on Friday. Let me read you just a little bit about this and give you my take. So, one second. Demonstrations in Sacramento marched for hours Friday through California's capital and called for justice in the contentious police shooting death of Stephon Clark, an unarmed black man. It's like the story writes itself, you know? There's been so many of the same stories. During the second day of protests, activists marched about a mile from the city's Tower Bridge to the steps of State Capitol building. They chanted Black Lives Matter and called out Clark's name. On the march, one of the march leaders told people to hold up their cell phones. Police have said Clark had an object in his hand, but no weapon was found. "It's just a cell phone," the man yelled out. "I don't know how the hell it looks like a gun to anybody else." The shooting began Sunday after 9 p.m. when Sacramento officers responded to a report that a man had broken car windows and was hiding in a backyard. They pursued a man identified as Clark who hopped a fence into his grandmother's property. Officials said 2 officers fired when they thought they saw a weapon. Let me repeat that. Officials said 2 officers fired when they thought they saw a weapon. How many times are we going to have to hear this bullshit? Mayor Darrell Steinberg said the city will wait for the outcome of an investigation. How many times do we have to hear that bullshit? There goes my monetization. The city will take a close look at police training and protocols, he said, because the way Clark died was, quote, just plain wrong. How many times do we got to hear that bullshit? Quote, isn't there a better way for police to handle those type of situations, he said. There is a better way. There must be a better way. The crowd Friday stood on the steps outside the Capitol decrying a police force that protesters called racist. They said there was no reason for police to open fire. Cells up, don't shoot. What they're referring to is Stephon Clark had his cell phone up, not a gun. After spending about a half hour at the Capitol, demonstrators took to the streets, occasionally disrupting traffic downtown and at times confronting police officers. Several people, including one member of the clergy, would get the growing crowd moving again as the protesters eventually went to an area where there were several courthouses. At times, a member of the crowd shouted "murderers" at law enforcement and yelled "F the police." Tensions began rising after demonstrators held a vigil Friday night. Some protesters were seen surrounding a police vehicle and climbed on it. Police blocked the road as protesters continued chanting and shooting at the officers for at least an hour. News footage showed. It's unclear whether there were any arrests. A phone is not a gun. Protesters the day before had marched into City Hall and onto an interstate highway as the mayor called for calm. They also went to an NBA arena and kept many fans from attending the Kings game against the Atlanta Hawks. At City Hall, demonstrators called for the arrest of the 2 officers and demanded to see Police Chief Daniel Hahn as they marched into the building. The protest, which was organized by Black Lives Matter Sacramento, briefly spilled into Interstate 5. Quote, "A phone is not a gun," protesters chanted. Just like I'm tired of reading lies from the federal government about Native American tribes or the effects of their toxic crude oil pipeline on the majority of America and the world, it's hard for me to read this because it's the same old record spinning. The police, with their insanely high testosterone levels, and I want to be clear, yes, I make the disclaimer, we can't condemn the entire police force across the United States. I happen to know 1 or 2 police officers. They're not crazy animals. But the bottom line is, let's call it what it is. I mean, how many times are they going to get off saying this ridiculous, oh, well, we saw his hands we saw his hands. We thought he had a gun, so we shot him. I mean, what do black people have to do? And this is from a white person speaking. What do black people in America have to do? Should they duct tape their hands to their chest at all times? Should we just cuff them so there's no chance cops could be confused here? And yesterday I watched a few episodes of Flint Town. It's a new documentary series on Flint. I haven't watched the whole series. It's frankly written from the police's point of view. It's not exclusively focused on the water crisis. It's mostly focused on the very large crime in Flint. And it's very, very, the bottom line is it's a documentary that is very pro-police, and it's told in a sympathetic light to the police. They're understaffed in Flint, how they're being attacked by the community, how police all over the country are being attacked. I mean, I've only watched 4 episodes, so maybe it will change as it goes. But so far, it's very, very sympathetic to police. And, you know, one of the police officers in the documentary, in the Flint Town documentary, sorry, a little tired, was basically saying, like, listen, if I see your hand going anywhere, I'm shooting. Well, that mentality by that white police officer, by the way, in Flint and in Sacramento that just killed this kid, Stephen Clark, who had a cell phone, not a gun. That mentality that if I see anything that I don't know, if I see his hand go anywhere, I'm shooting. That's because they don't value their lives the same way they value their lives. This cop who said that in Flint Town, this cop that said this in Sacramento, saying, oh, well, we thought he had a gun, that said it in South Carolina with Walter Scott, Trayvon Martin, Jordan Davis. I mean, I was just in St. Louis last year. I got arrested with my former cameraman. Much love to you, Ty. Still at the Young Turks. Love you anyway. We got arrested. They killed a black guy who didn't have a gun. And literally, the police officer in the chase of that African American is recorded saying, I'm going to kill that motherfucker. You watch. And then he killed him. Thank you, Freddie Gray, too. You have a police officer in St. Louis on tape saying, I'm going to kill that motherfucker. You watch. Then he killed him. The African American did not have a gun. And you want to talk about police brutality, sitting in a jail cell for 17 hours with predominantly African Americans from St. Louis. It's not just a violence problem, it's economic violence too. Because they're talking about in St. Louis. I mean, just about every one of them said, this is the new Selma, St. Louis. But how many times, I mean, obviously, don't expect anything from Donald Trump or President Trump or his administration. But how many times are we just, as a population, white, black, how many times are we just going to say, are we going to allow this to happen where, oh, well, the cops, well, they said they thought he had a gun. They were afraid for their lives. Well, you know what? If they don't have a gun and you're not wearing a body camera, that police officer needs to be arrested. There's occasional mishaps, and then there's an epidemic. And then there's an epidemic. I'm sorry, but if police officers, I don't care if you're a white officer or a black officer, if you are that confused, if you are that trigger happy, where if you see an African American just move their hand down, you don't see them holding a gun, but you just see them motioning their hands somewhere below, that you just shoot them multiple times, then you need to be fired and you need to be arrested. Because that's not defending yourself. That is murder. And it's also disgusting that you have a corporate media that literally is covering a porn star. Literally covering a porn star who says she has unprotected sex with the president, who, by the way, I'm sure it's true. But why aren't they on the ground covering Stephon Clark and another murder of a black man? The same way they were in Baltimore for Freddie Gray. Or St. Louis for Michael Brown. See, the police, they're there when, there's all these black protesters and white protesters, going upwards towards the police officers that look like military gonzos with shields. But right now on CNN, no, we're covering Putin and we're covering a porn star. That's the new formula, Putin and porn. Another black man killed? Another day in America. Another school shooting? What can we do? By the way, did you know that the school shooting last week in Maryland, that the male shooter shot a female student and a male student? Do you know that that female student was just taken off life support? So one person was killed in Maryland. I forget the name of the elementary school. I forget the name of the high school. That girl was killed. She was taken off life support. Haven't seen that anywhere. Does her life not matter? Because Stephen Clark's life obviously doesn't matter. But it's, you know, it does get disheartening reporting this stuff. It does get disheartening talking to you about this stuff, because sometimes even as a journalist, you feel like there's zero you could do. But thank you, Jen. Great Mills High School. The Great Mills High School shooting in Maryland, where the girl was taken off life support last, I think over the weekend. She was, I think she was 15 years old. But let me tell you something, folks. These protests, and I'm a journalist, so I'm not going to like tell you what to do, but I am going to tell you what I think. These shootings are not going to happen, are not going to stop until A, there is continued protest. I'm not talking about for 2 weeks. I'm not talking about for a month. I'm talking about every single day until it ends. The protests for the Vietnam War kept going for years until that war ended. You either care about, if you're white, it's on us as white people as well. Why do you think I cover Flint as much as I do, or I covered East Chicago as much as I do, or I was just in St. Louis when I was still at the Young Turks covering protests for a month? It's because it's not just that they're black, it's because they're poor. Black people and poor people, they don't have lobbyists, they don't have accountants, they don't have lawyers. So when Stephen Clark gets killed, and okay, now the mayor says, well, we'll have to see what happens with the investigation. Let me tell you what that investigation is going to say. I'll end the suspense. The police were within the right. He, moved his hand to his waist. They thought he had a gun. I mean, next thing you know, a black man's going to pull out, a super soaker, or, going to pull out bubbles that you spray bubbles for your kid. And that's going to be confused with a gun. I mean, when does it end? Frankly, the police, there needs to be, you want to talk about mental health problems? They need to send psychologists into police departments across America and reevaluate whether these police officers should have a gun. And there needs to be models and training that go on whether, because the standard can no longer be, well, we thought he was going towards his waist for a gun. That's not an excuse to shoot and murder someone if you don't see that person with a gun. And by the way, police are trained to shoot quicker and more accurately than a suspect. So why is it that just because you see his hand go towards something, right away you shoot? Again, because they don't care about that person's life. They don't value that person's life, especially black people. Well, why is it that the standard isn't if you actually see him pull out a gun, then you shoot? Because if you're a well-trained police officer, well, you should be a little faster on the shoot and response than a black or white person with a gun, shouldn't you? But the standard has been allowed that police could say whatever the hell they want. They could say, oh, he looked at me the wrong way and I thought I confused his eyes for a gun. I confused I accused his frown or his frown with a gun. And you know what? I get a lot of crap from this. I get a lot of Blue Lives Matter people saying, Jordan, you don't understand what police go through. Well, you know what? I might not understand everything police go through, but I promise you, you don't understand what black people go through. I don't understand what black people go through. No white person understands what a black person goes through because you're not black. I could drive wherever the hell I want if I have a car. I could generally walk wherever I want. It's not the same for black people. I happen to know that because I've interviewed, at this point, hundreds of African Americans. But as a human being, if, when a police officer, like they're saying in Sacramento, say, well, we thought he had a gun, blah, 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 blah. Well, why did you think he had a gun? Because he was moving his hands towards his waist? Why does that automatically mean he's about to pull out a gun? Essentially, the police department is training its officers because the sheriffs and the commissioners, they don't give a damn about poor black people or poor people in general. They're training them. If you even think it, if your brain goes off and you feel threatened at all, shoot to kill. But the police's job is to protect the people first. Before you, yes, of course, you're human beings. They have families. If they truly have a threat against them, they should protect themselves. But your first order of business is to protect the people. So the standard can no longer be, well, I thought he had a gun. No, you got to see someone have a gun, goddammit. And you're trained to react quickly. So if Stephon Clark pulled a gun out of his pocket, you would have been trained to respond quicker than he. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It's sickening. It's sickening. And just like the necessary protests that need to happen nonstop against these pipelines, and just like the necessary protests that need to happen against oligarchy and corrupt state officials that are blocking minimum wage raises across the country, or now moving minimum wage back, and just like the protests that need to happen against gun terrorism, like we saw on Saturday, I think what happened Saturday is great and amazing. I couldn't march or cover it because I just had back surgery. But it can't just be one Saturday. We got to be protesting all over the country, and it needs to be more than protest. You need to go to your city council and hold your local officials responsible and accountable. You need to go to your state capitals and hold your governors accountable. You need to go to corporate media headquarters, your local CBS, your local NBC, your local ABC, your local Fox, and get on them that they're not covering these things. Nothing's going to change if there are not bodies in the street and there is not voices screaming very loudly. Just remember, tonight you will be seeing MSNBC, CNN covering a porn star. Not a black man senselessly murdered, like all the other black men senselessly murdered in America. Let's stop calling ourselves a democracy. Let's stop pretending we have a Declaration of Independence where all men are created equally. All rich men, part of the oligarchy, are created equal. As I end, I again encourage you, if you came to this late, Chapter 6 of my book, Corporate Con Job, is out. It is the first of 2 chapters on Standing Rock. This chapter is more about the beautiful moments that I experienced there. I wanted to start with the positive and, unfortunately, with the horrible. I think when you read this chapter, I hope that it gives you a little hope and a sense of, if you were there at Standing Rock, even if you weren't, a sense of peace at what the fight is really about, to get more of these beautiful moments. I hope, it is for patrons, so you have to subscribe to read it. You could subscribe as low as $1. You could subscribe as low as $3, $5, and up for higher level rewards. Jen knows all the rewards, but she will put the Patreon link in there one more time. I want to be clear on something. I'm not asking you to subscribe to my Patreon for my book or my Patreon for my reporting so I could go have a nice meal. Frankly, I'm not having many nice meals nowadays. I'm not asking you to subscribe, to indulge myself with lavish gifts or anything like that. Your support, both to my book Patreon as well as my reporting Patreon. Just to be clear, I have two Patreons. One is for my book, Corporate Con Job. One is for my daily reporting. Jen will put both links in the chat. This support that you're providing me, and remember, we need to be the media we want to create. Don't just talk how bad the corporate media is. Don't just crap on corporate media and some independent media that I will not name here. Let's create the media we want to see. I am working very hard behind the scenes. Jen, my partner, is working very hard to launch a media company, which will include me and other reporters. But I need your help. We are going out to investors now. We have the business plan out to an investor, and we'll be sending it out to more. These are progressives. These are not Democratic Party plutocrats. These are not Republican plutocrats. These are progressive people who want to invest in real journalism. Not journalism just for my apartment, getting out in the field to cover the next Standing Rock before that pipeline goes into ground, to cover the next Flint before the people are poisoned, to cover the communities where black people are being murdered before another one gets murdered. I understand most of you are not rolling in it. So I appreciate those of you who have subscribed. For my book, I believe I have over 400 patrons. For my reporting channel, which has only been around for a week and a half, I believe we have 123 so far. Those of you who are subscribing and giving funds that you don't necessarily have to give, you are helping me get back in the field. You are going to help me hire other reporters. You are going to help me hire a camera person. Hint, hint. The camera person I want to hire, you might like. You might be familiar with. Take a guess. The reporters I want to hire, I believe, will one day soon surpass me. You'll forget about me, because it's not about me. Not about me. I know some people on the interweb think I'm some, egomaniac or whatever. I'm not creating this network to become famous myself. I'm creating this network to put some people in jail, to help bring down some corrupt people, help as best as I can weaken the oligarchy, and help deliver whatever the hell justice we could deliver in this freaking country to those who have been screwed. That's why I'm doing it. That's what gives me joy in life. That is what my passion is. I don't do this to grow my Twitter. I don't do this to become some star. I do this because I genuinely feel a connection with people getting screwed and the downtrodden. But I literally, and I'm not making it up. I literally cannot do this without your support. There will be no me in the field without your financial support, without your social media support, without your story ideas that you send to me. Email jordan@protonmail.com. Jen will put it in the chat. That's email jordan@protonmail.com. Some of the stories I cover come from you. But trust me, I want to be out in the field. I mean, right now, I'm nursing my back. I just had surgery 3 weeks ago. I'm doing physical therapy twice a week. But I want to get back out there, and I want to bring people with me to get back out there, because it's going to take a hell of a lot more than me to expose all what's wrong in this country and all the corruption. So if you got $1 a month, if you got $3 a month, if you got $5 a month, if you got $10 a month, if you could sacrifice a fancy drink or a fancy meal to bring down oligarchy, download the chapter today. That's The Calm Before the Standing Rock Storm, Chapter 6, patreon.com/Jordan Chariton, or consider becoming, or both, or consider my reporting Patreon. That's patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. I will be back tomorrow with some other stories. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, what the hell are you doing? I think I just passed 8,000 subscribers while I was live. That's youtube.com/Jordan Chariton Reports, Click the bell so you get notifications, even though YouTube's not delivering them to everybody. Thank you for watching. Peace.